Ever since I quit League of Legends, I've had a lot of time to try out new games and catch up on the ones that I never got around to finishing. I've spent the last 8 years or so only really playing competitive games, and I was never even good at them. At the time, it was what my friends played the most, and I think it was more fun when I was a teenager just killing time. But I'm almost 23 now, and so it's time I tried out some of the big boy games like Super Mario Odyssey and American Truck Simulator. All jokes aside, I've been trying to broaden my horizons and try out a bunch of different genres. But in a way, the ghost of my past still haunts me. I still have this feeling that I'm nothing more than a washed up Silver 3 League of Legends player. So I wanted to rebrand myself, and I've decided to do that by becoming a speedrunner. Or at least trying it out. So I've already decided Stardew Valley is the game I'm going to try and speedrun. A little background if you're not too familiar with Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is a management life sim, and the premise is you just left your corporate job to live on your grandfather's farm. You grow crops, raise animals, make friends, gather resources, explore the mines, all for various reasons. But one of the big goals in the game is completing the community center. It's run down in its current state, but you restore each room by completing their respective bundle. Each room has a couple different bundles for you to complete. Each room follows its own theme, such as fishing, foraging, farming. This community center is what I have to complete in my speedrun. There are 30 total bundles, over 100 different items for me to collect, and 42,500 gold I have to deposit. I watched Easy Speezy's video where he talks you through the entire community center completion speedrun, and I was immediately hooked on the idea of making an attempt. Stardew Valley is a game I have a decent amount of hours in, and I've completed the community center a handful of times. I already have a pretty set plan. I've already started reading through the guide and watching other people's speedruns, and sometime this week I'm going to start practice runs. I'm not going to worry too much about my time starting off. I think I'm going to try to run through the entire guide a couple of times, maybe not all in one sitting, only because there's so much you have to do day to day. Right now, the world record for a vanilla run is just under 3 hours, which is a pretty significant amount of time. That being said, I'm setting a very reasonable goal to complete my run in under 5 hours. Hopefully it'll be closer to 4, but right now a sub 5 hour time would put me right at 10th place, which I would be very, very happy with. There are times in this speedrun where it doesn't feel like you're doing too much, or all you're doing is following the guide word for word. But that definitely isn't the case right now. You're pretty busy right from the jump, so I'll try to break down everything I had to do. Plant your parsnips, water them till day 5 when they're fully grown. Look for a good luck day via the fortune teller on TV on the 5th or the 6th. If you don't get one, you reset the run. On your good luck day, grab a few edible forageable items, your parsnips, and head into the mine. You're trying to reach floor 40 since that's where iron ore starts spawning. Here's where I ran into some trouble. Day 1 of the mines, you're supposed to hit floor 40. Day 2 in the mines, you need to get the following items: 120 copper ore, 80 iron ore, 33 coal, 1 jade, and enough sellable items to get you to 3,000 total gold. Keep in mind the elevator in the mine only lets you travel down every 5th floor. I simply am not good enough at optimizing my time to hit floor 40 on day 1 and get all the items I need by day 2. I'd be lucky to hit floor 30 on my first day in the mines, and after day 1 I was usually completely out of food, which slowed down the whole process as well. Most speedrunners I've seen are able to do this. If anything, they might need to go back to the mines a 3rd time, and it's not a huge time sink for them, but it is for me. This first part of the run takes me about an hour, so yeah, I've been practicing this area of the run a lot. But there's a couple other things you need to get done in spring, so I'll touch on those as well. So after you have all of your required items, you go to the egg festival on the 13th, only to buy 30 strawberry seeds. You run home and plant them in this weird shape that took me way too long to figure out. Craft furnaces, start smelting your iron and copper, and after your first harvest, you gain the ability to craft sprinklers. And that takes a lot of pressure and planning out of farming for the rest of this run. The rest of the speedrun can be summed up much faster, I think, so I'm gonna try to blitz through these next couple of seasons. By the beginning of summer, you have enough iron and copper to make 16 sprinklers. You expand upon the previous jigsaw pattern. These are the spaces we work with for the rest of the run. The blueberries we plant give us our first big bulk of cash, which we use to buy raw materials so we don't waste time collecting tons of wood, stone, and ore. Collect our summer crops for the bundle, and we're already on to fall. The first couple of times I played through fall, I thought I would be as stumped as I was with the whole mining tobacco, and that's because we do our first day of fishing in fall. After we plant our initial fall crops, we look for the first rain day. Fishing is a controversial aspect of Stardew Valley. I never really understood it until right now. You can learn all of the patterns, memorize which pattern belongs to which fish, so we don't waste time on any fish we don't need. We buy some coffee so we can literally speedrun, get our fall crops and forage, and the next day we buy some more materials, sell our crops, build a barn, and build a bunch of preserve jars. These preserve jars will sustain our income going forward. We do this because when we hit level 10 farming, we unlock a perk that makes artisan goods worth 10% more. There's nothing too notable that happens in winter aside from our first traveling cart check. The inventory of the traveling cart changes every time you show up, and there's a chance to get some tricky bundle items early, but the biggest one we rely on is the pufferfish. I'll go over year 2 pretty quickly. We have to upgrade both the barn and the coop 2 times each to get the deluxe version. So most of the money we make is going towards the materials and upgrades needed for those. We do the rest of our fishing in year 2 summer, and in fall we trade in the jades, which we've been duplicating in this machine, for some staircases so we can get to floors 60 and 81 in the mines, where there's some items we need for the bundles. By the end of fall, we get the house upgrade to make the required maki roll and fried egg. All the animals should love you at this point, so you get all the required animal products, and that is it. That's the run. Does it sound like it takes about 5 hours? Because it does. So I mentioned briefly in the intro that I was bad at video games, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit. I first tried League of Legends sometime around 2012, and I got more into it around 2015, 2016. I don't know what it is about this game, but once I started playing it, I lost any interest I had in playing anything else. Growing up, I played stuff like Smash 64, the Halo games, Kung Fu Panda for the Xbox 360, and I feel like I really lost touch in a way. Even though League became the most accessible thing to me since I didn't have any consoles anymore and my computer kind of sucked, I really lost interest in regular titles. I never went back and played anything similar to the stuff I grew up on. My young developing brain decided to cling on to a game that's notorious for its terrible environment. I initially wanted to make my first video about the perspective I have about games now as somebody who's been both told forever and just understands that I am not good at video games. I had a lot of fun playing League, but I don't anymore. So I won't. Just because League and Valorant were games that I was bad at doesn't mean I have to be bad at everything else, which is why I wanted to make this video and potentially start like a series of trying new things. Yay! Maybe it won't be a speed run every time, maybe it won't always be gaming related, but if you're enjoying the video and want to see more stuff like it, maybe subscribe and check me out on Twitter. So I've been practicing runs for a while now. I initially started off practicing spring a bunch. After going through the mines a couple of times trying to do it exactly how the guide wants you to, mentioned before, I couldn't get everything done in 2 days. So I kind of adapted and found something that worked for me, where maybe I have to add a little bit more time to my run, but it's nothing too egregious. I wanted to practice the guide like month by month, but then I kind of said you know what, let's just go through the whole thing. This is definitely a speedrun that requires a guide. If you gave me another month, maybe I'd be able to memorize everything I needed to do. I'm at the point now where I don't need the whole guide. I have some bullet points written down and I can get by with just those. Things do get pretty complicated. There are a lot of opportunities for you to mess up and not be able to go forward as written in the guide. For example, if you're short on gold on a day where you're supposed to go out and buy a bunch of things, chances are in that day you're probably supposed to upgrade one of the farm buildings, either the barn or the coop. And so if you're short on cash, what are you gonna do? Sometimes you have leftover crops or pickles that you can sell to Pierre. Sometimes you might be able to put it off for another day or two. It can be brutal sometimes. There have been a couple of times where I'm trying to catch up on something that I missed earlier in the run, and I try to go out and there's like a festival or something. And there have been a couple instances like that where I've had like no choice but to restart my entire run. If you're curious about all the details of the run, I really recommend Easy Speezy's video that I mentioned before. It's really well made and he does a bunch of cool speedrunning stuff, so check him out. Today's Friday. Over the weekend I was gonna do a couple attempts, see if I can submit them. I think I'll have more to say about the actual run that I submit, but honestly I have no idea what to expect. So I did it. I have completed my run and it was a mess. It went a lot worse than I thought it would. So I've been practicing for about 3 weeks now. I did a lot of not recorded longer sessions where I really took my time and went through the whole guide at my own pace. Looking back, I wish I would have recorded some of those sessions. Definitely would have been a couple practice runs that I could have submitted. I just wasn't ready mentally, I think. I definitely had a couple of times I was really proud of. I did this run in under 5 hours, which was my goal. Maybe 2 or 3 times before I decided to sit down last night and go until I got something that I could submit. Not a great idea. Things started out pretty well. I didn't have a great run in the mines, but I had what was bare minimum decent run in my book. Everything in spring went pretty smoothly. Everything in summer went extra smoothly. It was the fastest I was able to get through that month. Fall was also going really well for me. I caught every fish I needed on my first day out, caught them faster than I usually do, and at that point I had thought things were going really well. Definitely gonna get a time under 5 hours. I was looking forward to so much. Spoiler alert, it was all downhill from here. It was around the first winter that I started realizing I did something wrong at some point. I didn't have enough money. Every single time I was going to Clint's to buy more ore or Robin's to upgrade my farmhouses, I was coming up short and I didn't know what to do. It started to get worse and worse. I'd be short a couple hundred initially, then a couple thousand, then near the end of the run I was 10,000 gold short at one point. I panicked and sold a lot of my vegetables that I was supposed to be pickling, but I needed to get this deluxe barn upgrade. There was no way I could progress with the run without the deluxe barn upgrade. The money thing started really stressing me out, and then it didn't help that I was short a couple of items I knew I needed. They tell you in the guide if you need to sell some of your animals for your last little bit of gold, then that's fine. Except I always do this too early and it always ends up kicking me in the butt. This time I didn't, but I forgot I needed a rabbit's foot, and so I didn't spend any more time in fall looking at this animal at all. I lost all the hearts I had accumulated with it and I was essentially back to zero. In the community center trip where I noticed I was missing the rabbit's foot, I noticed I was also missing another item that has given me trouble. the sea urchin. The sea urchin is a forageable item, which means it's just something you find. It usually spawns in the tide pool area of the beach, but you spend 300 wood to access that area of the beach. So at no point during the speed run is that something you're supposed to do. There are a couple of weeks in summer where it shows up on the accessible part of the beach, and that's usually when you're supposed to go and find it. I always forgot the couple of days where it shows up, and so if I didn't happen to see it, it didn't register in my brain that it was something I'm missing. And so while I disparagingly pet my rabbit every single day, I checked the traveling cart praying it would show up every Friday and Sunday, and every now and then I would go out to the tide pool after painstakingly chopping down enough trees for 300 wood. And so the entire last hour of my run was dedicated to only getting these 2 items. And when I finally went to the community center to turn everything in, I realized I was missing a copper and silver bar. Oh my god, are you kidding me? I had gone through so many copper and silver bars to make all of my sprinklers, the preserve jars, a couple other things, for those 2 to be missing at the very end. I literally can't even think of anything to say here. I feel like I've already gotten my despair across to you. I hope you feel how I felt, to be honest. Couple honorable mentions. Fire quartz, you were always a pain to find. Shout out to all the dagger weapons, you suck. And so after all that, the final time I got on my last attempt at Stardew Valley speedrunning was 5 hours and 8 minutes. I did not beat my goal, and I'm a little disappointed. Because I pulled an all-nighter trying to get a good run, and I ended up having to settle with a run that wasn't even my best time. Looking back, I really wish I didn't pick what is essentially 100% speed run, but I actually did have a ton of fun practicing. It was interesting trying something new. I have never done anything like this, and I think speedrunning is something I want to try again. It made me look at a game I've played thousands of times completely differently. So if you know any fun categories, I definitely want to do this again. I have a couple ideas for what I want to look into playing next, but leave a comment. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Gooby.